Commission. Let's begin just by introducing ourselves briefly.
Noah Shalabi.
Linda Winkler.
Corinne Moore.
Leslie Stambaugh.
Dwight Wilson.
Rick Ratliff.
David Baum.
Graydon Craigwell.
Thank you. There is no public comment, is that correct? You do not want to speak?
No, we're good.
Okay. Changes and approval of the agenda.
You know, I do want to note, since the young woman says she's from Skyline, almost invariably, when we have somebody visiting, it's from Skyline.
Right.
And so I really appreciate their energy.
I do too, thank you. That's neat. The only thing I'd like to do is eliminate the contractor compliance because Pam isn't here. And she was the person who's going to talk about that. So can we, if there's no discussion or changes to the agenda, can we have a motion?
Yeah, I move to approve the agenda as amended by Leslie.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Changes and approval to the minutes from July. Please.
We expressed a concern over the fact that they're really sketchy.
Yes.
Were we supposed to,
What
Bolster
I
them.
did, because we did express that, and because I realized that if we had massive changes, it would take us all day to work on them, is that I converted this into a document that I could track changes, and I track changes. So the changes, do you have a copy of those new minutes?
if I did, I don't see them. But
Here is one. Does
Thank you,
anybody
Leslie.
else need one? Where the changes, for some reason, my changes are in blue and red in lines, but I'm not necessarily yours. But I made a lot of changes, and enhancing it quite a bit. And so, if you would make your comments based on this, that would be helpful.
So Leslie, I like what you added. I had a couple. I didn't have any substantive additions, but I note a few technical changes on page. Well, I guess in section D, HRC website. It looks like all of the verbs in the first sentence were crossed out, so I noted that back in.
Thank you.
And in section, in 4A, old business A, on the third to last line, the word I think the word should be underrepresented.
Yes,
yeah.
that's right.
Oh, yes, it's not that. Okay,
Right.
thank you.
And what else did I do? I put a comma in. I took a comma out. Right above that, positive and negative, I recommend that we just remove that comma after positive.
I have another concern.
Just a second, where's positive? and
So
negative?
it's the line above the one that we just correct, where underrepresented is. It says positive and negative.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
And
and I think that's all I had. Thank you.
in the same line, express concern, take about out.
Okay,
And I had, when you're ready.
yes, I'm ready.
Under contractor compliance, which
Yes.
doesn't actually have a letter in front of it, but that first sentence, I think this is conflating two things. One is contractor compliance with the non-discrimination ordinance, and the other is what we want to do about
Right, but they
banning
did
the
come in
box.
together.
Yeah, but
That's
it's not
that's
at all
hard.
clear, and it's under the contractor compliance heading.
Right.
So
You're
there
right.
is a heading further on under old business, which is ban the box issues. But just for clarity's sake,
Okay.
I would suggest moving. I kind of shortened that first line just to say, L. Winkler and P. Dent have started researching the job applications of of city contractors and city employers, and just put that under ban the box issues revisited.
City contractors and city employers?
Yeah, because, I mean, we have to talk a lot further about this, but I thought we had decided to look both at the job applications of city vendors
Yes.
and at the major private employers in Ann Arbor, just to see what current practice actually is, as far as whether they ask for criminal record information.
So do you, I'm
I don't
sorry.
think we need to say more than that, since it's under the ban the box section. We're
Oh, it
just
is already under the band of,
No, I'm saying if we move it there, I
okay.
think it's fine just to say we're reviewing employer applications as do you want me to say it to you again?
Yes.
L. Winkler and P. Den have started researching the job applications of city contractors and city employers.
Okay, then
Just-
what?
That's it.
That's
No,
all.
that's it.
Cross out everything else or put that under?
It was just the first sentence of that contractor compliance had to do with ban the box, the rest of it didn't.
Oh, and so the rest will stay,
I think so,
starting
right?
with P Dent?
Well, it will create a draft of a memo to be distributed. Yeah,
Okay.
that's a whole separate.
Okay, so this is the part that goes
Yeah,
to ban the box.
so that's why it didn't kind of
I'm
make
sorry.
sense. Yeah,
That's
two
a good
separate
change, thank you.
things. Okay.
I just didn't,
think I had one.
having trouble understanding that.
The only other suggestion I have is under incorporating guest presentations,
Yes.
section F there. You might, in that last sentence, you might want to say, ask for input from the commission on the letter of invitation and the current organization list, because we talk about 3 different documents and.
Right.
Yeah,
So just add of invitation.
Good.
to clarify.
okay. Any discussion about this? Can we have a motion to approve
I
then?
move we approve the minutes.
All in favor?
I'll second.
Oh, second, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Okay. Very briefly, I want you to know that, Linda, I think you were the one who asked Lisa to work on our flyer. So I'm going to pass out 2 things. This is the flyer that we had a couple months ago that I keep passing out, and please feel free to take one if you need one to post somewhere. This is the new flyer, as suggested by Communications
Well,
Department?
This was as part of the meeting that David and I had with Nancy and Lisa. One suggestion was that Lisa could make this poster more attractive, and instead of our printing it out and incurring the cost of color printing, put it as a colored PDF file on our website or send it to organizations by email, and have them print it out. So then that, if we're not printing it out, she can go to town on color, she can do whatever she wanted.
Mhm.
So we asked her to take a crack at it,
I
and
see.
that's what she came up with. It's not very different from what we have now.
Mhm.
But she did say if there's something in particular we want, we should let her know.
Well, I don't see any problem with our posting it and also having it as a PDF and having them download it, and if it's a little different.
No,
doesn't-
that's fine, but the point was who's incurring the cost for color copy.
Yeah.
And one way to avoid those costs is to just email it also lets us email this to people instead of
Right.
having to physically go and post it ourselves.
And that's a real plus.
Right. And
Because this
also
is so
to-
complicated looking when you email it that it's hard for us to do.
To do it, well, as a PDF, yeah,
Right.
that's already, but if we want it to be more than just green and white, if we want it to be, we should let her know.
Well, here's how they look. So the one that's on the cardstock is our posters we've already made, and the one that is, and you've got them too, Sumi? Did you pass?
I got one.
Okay, but you've got the only one that has been changed by Lisa. I didn't, because I didn't
Okay.
want to make a lot of them. But you can see how it's different.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any changes or? I mean, I think we're awfully close if we're not
So
there.
it's a little better, I think.
Yeah, it is a little better.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
The font.
The font and the way the headings stand out. Yeah, I think the way Lisa has it is better.
Yeah,
So,
I think it's great to have it on the
Yeah.
website and have it downloadable also.
And as you said, I mean, if people print it.
Right, on their own or whatever. Okay.
Okay, is there any discussion about this? Does anybody have anything that they think is horribly wrong with that?
I think it's a slight improvement.
Yeah, I thought so.
I do too, and I actually, I think it's a good idea to do both. I like
Right.
emailing the color poster, but
PDF.
there are gonna be just some places where organizations won't get, like grocery stores and.
Right, we should
I
do
see.
that, right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so do we need any more discussion about this then?
No,
Well, thank you and thank Lisa.
Lisa, yeah.
Please, because that's terrific. Few things about just the LBGT liaison.
Right, not a lot of news there. We are, it looks like, scheduling a meeting with the mayor, with hopefully both liaisons present. It's tentatively scheduled for the 31st, because the mayor's gonna be out of town. And we hope to have some progress on the job descriptions at that point, as well as whether Brad would like to continue as the liaison or have someone else step in temporarily, while he's out of state, so.
Thank you. That's great. Website, so you did meet with, you have more to say about the website? I bet you do too.
Yeah, David, you can, or I?
Go for it.
You want me to? Okay, no, okay. So David and I met with Nancy and Lisa. David got the ball rolling by contacting Nancy, because I guess, I wasn't here last month, but, you know, the question came up about well, first of all, it was suggested that we add resources to the website, to our webpage, the city webpage for the Human Rights Commission, so that people who come to it, who may be searching for some help, and maybe we're not the best ones to provide it, can see that there are alternative places to go. So then the question is, what are we permitted to put on a city webpage and what aren't we? So David set this meeting up with Nancy D'Amola of the City Attorney's Office and Lisa Wondrush, the city's communications director, and we talked about it. And everybody agreed that it's a good idea to have resources on the webpage. The question is, which kind is okay, which kind isn't. Fine to have any kind of government related link or website, so local, state, federal, governmental organizations. Also fine, I think, to have legal services, dispute resolution center, fair housing. Nancy was thinking about the landlord, the tenants' rights publication that the city has out, and what resources are in there. And they do have things like legal services in there, so she thought that that would mean it's okay for us to put it on our webpage too. What gets trickier are other kinds of advocacy organizations, like the Student Advocacy Center and maybe the ACLU and the Michigan Immigrant Rights Center. She wasn't sure. So we left it that what we would do is put together what we want and then let her look at it and see what she thinks is okay to have on the city website and what isn't.
These are all hyperlinks, right?
They will be hyperlinks.
It would be great to be able to get reports on, you know, how many click-throughs there are, you know, on a monthly basis on different
You're absolutely right.
hyperlinks, so that we
Yes.
can get a sense of what people's concerns might be.
That's a really good idea. And we did, that subject came up just about how many people are actually clicking on our webpage and how often, and I guess how much time they spend on it. And Lisa was going to get us that information. I guess we can ask her again for that. She gave it to us a year or more ago, but you're right. Then we can see, you know, whether people are clicking through once we do this. So I've started working on reorganizing the webpage, because if we're going to add the resources, it's not sort of, it needs to be reorganized so that it kind of flows more logically. And it seems to me that what the priority right now is to add is to add other places that people can file civil rights complaints. That to me, so we have the Ann Arbor Human Rights Commission, but then we want them to know right off the bat that they can also go to the Michigan Department of Civil Rights. They can also go to the EEOC. They can file a complaint with the ADA and all of that. And then there are several others.
Right.
So to me, that's like priority, and
Okay.
I'd like to see that get on right away. And
Sure.
then after that, we can just play with what we want to add or not. So I think that's pretty much.
Yeah. Are you gonna put, any commentary about what kinds of things go to places?
Well, we talked about that a little, and I think the thinking was really just basic description, not too much.
Less is more.
Less is more.
Okay.
What else am I?
I mean,
forgetting?
enough probably, the title and maybe a sentence or a phrase.
Right, or a phrase.
That's descriptive.
Right, if you're talking about like EEOC guidelines on
Employment.
then
Right,
you might want to
employment
say that
complaints.
because
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
lots of different stuff on the basic EEOC
Right.
website. So maybe stuff that's hard to find if you just go to the homepage, you want to have some link to some subpage or I don't know.
Right, and include the link as part of our description.
Right.
Or maybe the link itself would go to that specific
Thing.
page, yeah.
Right. So what else am I forgetting?
I think that's pretty thorough. I mean, they were very amenable to it. We were worried that they were going to say no hot links, at first,
Right.
and that wasn't a problem.
No.
They were,
Right.
Good.
yeah. It was really, Nancy just said, let me review the substance of the whole list, and that way she can come up with decisions on the gray area. The advocacy organizations.
Super.
Right.
Yeah, I think it should be fine.
Great.
Right.
That's great. Do you need more help? I mean,
Well,
are you going to
David
start
will
doing
help.
it?
Yeah, Linda and I will-
said I would take a first crack at some of it, and I'll send it to David. We'll go back and forth.
Okay,
We're fine.
if you need more help.
I
ask.
don't think it's, I think once we get the page reorganized so that it fits in neatly and makes sense,
Yeah.
it should be okay.
I agree. I think it'd probably be a good idea if we ran by the entire commission what we want to
Oh,
include on the
sure.
resource list and just
That's
see if
fine.
anybody else has anything to
Oh, yeah,
add or
yeah,
has any
absolutely.
objections. And so we'll do that once we get the list.
The
so.
draft.
I think that'd be great.
The other thing I forgot to mention, and Heather's not here, is that Lisa did mention in terms of making changes to our webpage that Heather has the ability, and it's kind of her job partly, Lisa thought, to help us make those changes, that they don't all have to go to Lisa,
That would be
who has a
nice.
lot on her plate
Mhm.
and is
Yeah.
responsible for at least one commission herself. I ran that by Heather, who said she needed to check with Robin.
Okay.
So we'll have to see how that goes.
Okay.
So, but it would be good if we could just, especially
Would
when
be.
there are minor changes,
Yeah.
just ask Heather to do it.
Right.
So
No, that'd
hopefully
be
that will
great.
happen.
It also occurs to me that when that happens and we have a web page that's really worth going to, that we might want to add that to our poster, our flyer.
Oh, right.
Check us out,
Right,
because
right,
there'll be something to check out.
right.
Well, thank you for all your work, that's
No,
great.
fine.
Incorporating guest presentations. Rick,
Okay.
Are we not doing status of complaints?
sorry, status of complaints, sorry. Yes, we are, in fact, we are doing that and not, there won't be any other meeting about complaints. Am I right in thinking that our two big complaints that we've been working on are all
Closed for now.
Closed.
Yeah.
Right, so the one I'm working on is all but closed. I'm working on figuring out how to close it. What I will say about the one that I was working on was that the parties came together for a meeting. The complainant was there, the respondent was there, and I should say, for benefit of you all, we're not really allowed to talk about the details of where the complaints occurred, on the record here, and so that's why I'm going to be a little bit vague. But the complainant came together with a representative of the commercial establishment where the complaint that was the scene of the incident that led to the complaint, and then a lawyer for that business entity attended by phone. And it went well. Each side was able to talk about, from their perspective, what happened. The respondent wound up really apologizing to the complainant, made it clear to the complainant that they do not discriminate against people based on, and I think it's okay to say this because I'm being very general, on transgender status. And it was a case of mistaken identity. And the complainant accepted that. It really was very amicable. After the meeting, I debriefed with the complainant, and she felt comfortable saying, you know, there's really not much more to be done here. And she even said, gosh, I'm a little worried that maybe I jumped to conclusions too quickly. And I told her, not at all. I'm glad you brought this. It turns out that the establishment is changing its policy about the way it handles customers who they think have committed crimes in that establishment, to be very, very sure about that the person who they're confronting actually did do that in the past. Otherwise, they're not going to confront them. Mm-hmm. And so what I said to the complainant is, by your bringing this forward, whether or not it ends up having been discrimination, and it looks like it wasn't here, at least you've enabled a store to improve its process. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, all in all, this was, I think, a very constructive, I guess, outcome for this complaint.
Yeah. I think it was,
Yeah,
having
it's
heard
great.
about it in even more detail, it seems very constructive. And I guess I want to add to that a lot of the complaints that we have received have components where education and talking it over is very, very important. And this is a model of that, where you're not arresting anybody, you're not blaming anybody, you're just getting an understanding of what really happened. And often there are ways then, the next step I liked best about what you did, because you talked about how do we prevent this from happening again.
Right.
Because a lot of a lot of people are not thinking about, we don't have policies and practices that prevent that from happening. We've been pretty loose, and there are consequences to people we deal with every day.
Right. Well, and interestingly, you know, the respondent said, look, from my perspective, this was a customer service failure. And right, so this entity wants their customers to be happy, and so it really made sense for them to improve the way that they go about confronting people who they think have been problematic in their establishment before. So, and talking it through really, I think, helped.
Yeah.
So.
I realize I was also working on a complaint which is done now, and that involved interpreting the definition of, is it educational association, one of the protected classes. So we had to go to the city attorney, who they weren't sure either, and they met and came to a consensus, and we resolved it once we heard from the city attorney. But what came to our attention in handling that complaint was that we need to amend the non-discrimination ordinance, which currently has section 9157 has a list of exceptions. So it says, notwithstanding anything contained in this chapter, the following practices shall not be violations of this chapter. And one of them is subsection 10, to provide discounts on products or services to students, minors, and senior citizens. Doesn't say that an establishment can provide discounts to veterans, and it should. Because we added veterans as a protected class, but then we didn't add it here.
That's right. So when you say they can't be discriminated against, sometimes you're
Exactly.
preventing them from getting extra benefits. And that-
Right. And so in any case, we ran it by Nancy Niemela, who said fine. Graydon and Sumi are happy to sponsor it. So Nancy will write it up,
Yeah,
and it should be on one of the September agendas.
yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Great.
So I just,
Yeah. And also, I just want to also point out that when we have to go to the city attorney to get an interpretation, we keep a record of the interpretation, and so that we understand how
right.
the different ways that the ordinance can be interpreted.
Right.
So we did a lot of good work. We're still trying to, we're still waiting for a complaint that we have heard about, but it hasn't come through yet. Form isn't filled out yet. So we've had a busy first half of the year. And thank you all for doing that. I think we can go on now. Yeah. Okay, incorporating guest presentations into the
Yes,
HRC.
Well, first, thanks to everybody for your contributions, both to the list of organizations as well as to the letter that would go to the organizations. Because sometimes seeing something actually printed out as opposed to something that's online gives you additional insights into mistakes or problems with a document. I took the liberty of printing out the letter with all of, I think I included everybody's amendments and changes. So if you just could check it out and see, I've added a comma and took, of course, took out the date since that's obviously irrelevant. One thing I guess I wanted to ask people is, while I'm going to be the ringmaster on this thing, I'm wondering if it would have more weight if your name, if you were the one who was actually signing the letter. This has sort of occurred to me as we're sitting here, so that it would come from the chairman.
Shouldn't it come from the Human Rights Commission?
Or the
And then
commission.
have something that says it, please for questions or,
Yeah, it can simply
Please
come from
return
the
to-
commission,
yeah.
and then I would be the contact person or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
I'm just trying to.
I think so.
Makes sense.
But I just want to give it, I want to give it as much weight as possible. I still lean towards having it at least initially go out in printed form, because I think it seems more official than if it's an email.
True.
Yeah.
But if we don't get any response, I guess we could go
And
back.
our
and-
letterhead, by the way, has everybody's name listed on the left-hand side. So,
Yeah,
just so you know that
yeah.
they know who we are.
So would you email a template out to each of us if you have it? Do you have the letterhead?
Oh, that's
Where,
a
how do we
great
get
idea.
it?
I do, I can email it to you. I could it might be a picture, it might be a photograph.
Like a
but-
PDF or a,
Yeah,
yeah,
I think that's how it is. I think that's how it is.
Yeah, you were saying you print it twice, right? You
I
print,
do.
You print the
I
letter.
do, I
Oh,
have
I
a
see.
template,
Yeah.
yes.
So you write in a Word document and then you later print it onto the letterhead that you
It's
printed
not the
out.
high
Is there
cost
another
way to
is there
do
another
it.
way to do this?
No, I don't
Is it
think so.
something that we could ask Lisa for help?
Like for
with?
in a Word
No,
format
I
or
don't
something
think
like
so.
that?
No, is there no other way to do it?
Well, not unless you have stationery printed, and that's expensive. I mean,
Oh, no, what I was thinking, I think what you're
yeah.
getting at is, if we could get a version of the letterhead that I think you're saying is in a PDF file, if we could get it in an MS Word file,
Yeah.
then, and we each have the template,
Right.
then we could write
Right
into
within
the Word
document,
template.
Yeah.
Oh, it's,
And then
you
print
know
it out
what? It's
after
harder
we're
to do. Unfortunately, having the names, and somebody suggested we do this a long time ago, having the names on the side means that if it's a Word template, you have infinite, you really, yes, not only that, but we have our letterheads in color. I mean, I think it's got a tree in green or something, but you have problems with margins.
I see, so you can't have Word where the name's on the left and you can't touch it in the Word document. If
Well,
like
every time
It'll create
you-
spacing problems and all that.
Right.
Oh.
Maybe we need
You
to
could make
get
it
rid
two
of-
columns, maybe you could make it 2 columns and do it, I hadn't thought
Yeah.
Or
of that.
maybe we need to get rid of the names and just have a very basic.
We could do
Well, right
that,
at
we
the top.
certainly could do that, and that wouldn't be hard to do.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, there are 5 organizations that sort of floated to the top in terms of the number of people who,
Great.
suggested them. So I will email everybody that list. Those are the ones we're gonna approach initially.
Okay.
And at Leslie's suggestion, I think this program will actually sort of, we're gonna try to get it going to begin at the beginning of the calendar year.
Is that all right with people?
Oh, instead of starting in September, starting in
Yeah,
January?
We're gonna have
Yeah.
a
Sure.
report to read maybe next
Yeah.
month, maybe,
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
That's
we're
true.
gonna be kind of busy.
Yeah.
That's true.
So,
So,
Sure.
thinking.
Yeah.
and it would be nice for them to have a couple months
Yeah.
to prepare.
Yeah, sure.
So that's pretty much where we stand. So if anybody sees anything in this letter that needs to be changed, just let me know. Email me or
Okay.
whatever, and we'll fix it.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
yeah.
Sure.
All of
The
the
idea
work.
and the work.
Can I say one more thing about
Sure.
it? There was a little bit of dialogue about the University of Michigan and entities
Right.
to be
Yeah.
included. Vivian voiced, I thought, strongly and clearly and eloquently that she thought that that really the commission should try to have more interaction with the university, and this was a nice way to do it. And I saw some back and forth, and the last thing I saw was Kareen's suggestion that said that, you know what, why don't we have one meeting dedicated to the University of Michigan, and then we can figure out which multiple organizations we want to invite, and
Yeah.
maybe give them 30 minutes instead of the 15 that
Right.
we're setting aside for the others. And I just wanted to go on record saying, I wanted to put that on the record, and I wanted to say that I think that's a really nice idea. And then that gives us some more time, you know, to think about
Yeah.
Yeah, that
which
would- good
entities within the university we should approach.
Right, right,
Yeah.
that's a good
It's a
idea.
good idea, yeah.
Okay.
It sounds like a good idea, but I don't understand when you say one meeting that would deal with the university.
So here's, so my understanding is that the way this is going to work is that we are going to invite, so far it sounds like 5 organizations to come and present for 15 minutes to us about what their organization does at some point in a Human Rights Commission meeting. Vivian was concerned that the University of Michigan wasn't on that list. And I think where a few of us arrived was that, you know what, let's figure out which entities to invite from within the university, have them come to one of the meetings, give them 30 instead of 15, assuming that there might be 2 or 3 different entities within the university who present, instead of just 15 minutes.
Well, what I don't understand is how we choose who represents a 40,000 person.
No, fair enough. And again, I think that's why I think there needs to be, you know, further discussion about it.
Yeah.
And I offered to you know, start that conversation with Vivian, and maybe that's something that we could all,
Yeah.
you know, decide. And Dwight, I think you're right. We're never going to find, you know, 2 or 3 entities that represent the whole
Yeah.
university, but certainly we could arrive at maybe 2 or 3 offices within the university
Yeah.
that could at least give us at least a partial cross-section of related to human rights and civil rights related
right.
issues. So
I know that when I was dean of students, I could have done that. And so if that's what you're suggesting, that we bring somebody, one of the administrators in.
sure, well, that's a possibility,
Yeah.
like someone from the Division of Student Life at the university. You know, either
Sure.
Vice President Harper or maybe her dean
Yeah.
of students, a woman named Laura Blake Jones. Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
those are
Sure.
possibilities.
Well, I would think the administrators could also recommend, you know, the organizations that would be appropriate.
Well, I don't,
Well,
I'm not
we should talk more about it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
I
anyway,
think
we need to have some dialogue about how
Yeah,
to choose. Yeah.
sometimes there's not a meeting of the mind between some of these student
Sure.
groups, and so I think what Vivian had in mind was more the student group.
Yes.
The student point of view, so let's
Sure,
not lose
so it may not
that.
be administrative
Yeah.
offices at all.
Or
like-
both.
I think
Or
that-
some of
that-
each.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes more sense, because if we want to hear any
Yeah.
discrimination or any issues, it's going to be from the students.
From the students, not the
Right.
administrators,
And
yes.
depending on the administration to recommend, I'm not sure
Sure.
if
Yeah.
they're going to recommend
Sure.
that. Yes.
Yeah.
Again,
Spoken as an
let me
administrator.
work a little harder to try to be precise.
That's cool.
I don't know how you would choose which student groups, because there are hundreds of student groups within the university.
Right,
And so I
Yeah.
just don't know how. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I want to do it.
yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how to do.
Well, I think we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we need more discussion. I think it's
Yeah.
gonna be hard, I agree with you.
I think that's right, and not only that, we'll see how this goes,
Right.
This could be the beginning, we might invite a couple of organizations,
Mhm.
in this next year, and then
Mhm.
maybe if we wanna continue it, we could invite a couple more, in a future year, so
Yeah.
we'll just have to see how it goes and figure it out.
We'll never get the entire picture, but the more
That's true.
people we talk to, the more groups we get involved, the more we'll see.
I think so.
Mhm.
No, that's a good thing. I think that once we start this, we're going to see a lot of things we didn't anticipate and get ideas for the kinds, more, a firmer idea of what we want from these people, what they want from us, and
Sure.
what kind of
Right.
presentations
And I
we
think
want.
just spreading the word, maybe when other organizations or entities in the University of Michigan know about this and they have issues that we want to come,
Right.
I'm sure they're going to contact us and say, we
That's
want to
true
be the
too,
ones who
yeah.
will be presenting. Because I'm assuming that those, the list that we are choosing or selecting, it's not going to be a permanent thing. I mean, this is
Mhm.
for a certain time, and the next time it will be somebody else, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
okay, so.
Yeah, yeah. Good. Okay, well, thank you very much. Update on police review project. At our last meeting, David agreed to set up monthly meetings with Hillard Hines so that he and I could talk to them about it and get better updates for us. And we started that, and we've had 2 meetings, and in addition, I've talked to the city administrator about it. So I have some updates for you. This is what I've learned so far. First of all, some perspective. We all have been focusing on getting community input, and that's about police community relations, and that's very important, but that's not the whole picture of what this is about. And in fact, a lot of what Hillard Hines is doing in this first phase of a 3-phase contract is working with the police. And their work includes helping them with getting the CALIA accreditation, with hiring, with training, with practices, and with community engagement. And getting input from the officers about what they think about police-community relationships. So this is a much bigger project, and it's not all going to be done in phase 1, and they want to stress that. They've talked to a lot of people, and as you know, we have been trying on actually Deborah's invitation to get to, we've been saying that we don't think that the input that they were getting from communities is deep enough into the most vulnerable populations. And so we've been trying to get smaller groups to meet with Deborah. And I think we've got a number of these groups interested and probably ready to go. Deborah is likely not to come for a couple weeks, but she knows it's very important. We know it's very important, and in fact, City Administrator Howard Lazarus knows that it's very important, and we're going to do it somehow. I think we're going to do it. Maybe we'll find out, but it will be in the report, and we will get them scheduled. But also, she was very strong in saying, and I think she's very right about this, that the input that we're going to get is not going to stop in a month or in 2 months. We're going to get input at all points of this process. It's continuous. And so if we don't have it now, we will keep asking for it, and hopefully people will keep responding. At the last meeting, we asked people if they have any feedback about the listening sessions, or whether or not they have been contacted or not, or if they want to be in touch with Hillard Hines to give more input. We gave them information to do so. We did not receive any, but I still want to do it again. So that if you want to talk to our consultants about any police community issues, please email them. And
What did you not receive?
we do not, no one has contacted us and said, they I tried to get in touch with Hillard Hines and they didn't call me back, or can you please put me in touch with them?
I shared an
She
incident.
did. I passed that along and it was dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, that's the only one I know of so far. I have just heard possibly of another one, and I will do that also. So we're gonna be very proactive to make sure that everybody who wants to be heard is heard. So you can write them at Ann Arbor at hillardhines.com, or you can write to us and we can put you in touch at hrc@a2dov.org. Let's see, is there anything else? I think the report is going to be out sometime either at the end of August or the beginning to mid-September. I mean, it's being, parts of it are being done. I guess there's a lot of technical information that's being done given this work they're doing with the police.
But it's your understanding, let me ask, I guess, a point of
Yeah.
clarification. You're saying that Deborah Kirby from Hillard Hines is planning on coming back one more time before the report is published to try to still speak to members of some small groups? Or is it not clear that she'll get back before the end of phase
If she
one?
doesn't get back, we will have somebody else, probably the city administrator, be there and have those kinds of meetings. So it's going, there's a possibility that she will not be back in time, but she will be open to, but that information will be in her report for the groups that are being, that we're setting up now. I'm honestly not sure of all the details of this, but I'm trying to reassure people that there is still chance for them to be heard, and they still will be heard by somebody who they want to hear, who's important to hear this.
Just for clarification, I'm sorry, Leslie, did she say that the information that people give to her will be in the report, or will she take into consideration the information people give to her while writing the report? Because there's a difference.
I assume she's going to summarize the information that she received, and it will be in the summary. And it will be a factor in the decision, in the recommendations.
Okay, I was wondering if she actually said that.
No, she didn't.
Okay, just so that people
Yeah.
won't be surprised if it's not there. Yeah.
I mean, feedback so far, even on the listening sessions, is not, nothing is verbatim.
Right,
So I'm not expecting
okay.
verbatim.
I'm confused, and it seems to me that this is a major point. You said that this is a first stage, but has city council given us, have they affirmed that we're going to get 3 stages?
City council has approved the
The plan.
whole cost.
Yeah, I think the whole
Right?
plan, I think there's
I
a
think so.
commitment, there's a commitment to follow through
Yeah.
with
3
everything.
phases?
I don't know if all the funding's been approved, but there's a commitment, we approved the plan.
For
and there's a-
200,000.
Yeah, and
Yes.
there's a commitment to see this through.
Yeah,
And that commitment, you've mentioned 3 phases.
Right.
And this is the first.
this is the first
Is
phase.
the 200,000 supposed, plus the
2,000.
40,000, is that supposed to?
30,000 was the addition, I think.
Every-
we had
every
to
single-
do.
yeah,
So the
addition, right.
230,000
Is
is
the full-
for
full-
3 phases, not
That's
for
my
1.
understanding, yes.
Yeah, correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Any other questions about this? I also, by the way, Pam had asked if we would see the report before it went public. I suggested that to Deborah, and I also suggested that the police see it before. I mean, I think the best way to get lots of buy-in is for everybody to see it before. You know, obviously not change it. We can't change what is being said, but we can react to it, and we may be able to come up with things that are, I don't know, I just think it's important.
Do you mean we would have the ability to comment on it and then they could consider whether or not to amend the report before it's finally published based on comments?
Thank you. That's that's good. Or not. I mean, we may be able to say it should be published a certain way, or I mean, I don't know, something so that people have seen it before and it does have.
And what did
Yeah.
she say?
She said she thinks that's a good idea. She's going to pass it by people. She has, obviously it has to go through city administrator's office. He's the one who makes the final decision on that. But that's a possibility. Ultimately, what we want is something that everybody can buy into, and so anything that adds to that would be nice. Okay. Anything else about police review? Ban the box. What else is there about?
Nothing, no real update on that. Pam and I just need to research. We found when we would try to find job applications online, it's not so easy, particularly with the big employers, because they want you to log in and create an account, and it's not like the paper application which asks or doesn't ask for criminal, background, felony, misdemeanor, whatever.
So you'd have to apply for a
You'd have
lot
to
of jobs.
basically, I actually started
You would
to,
have to-
Joe Smith, but too hard. So I think at least for some of them, we have to just call up
Mhm.
and find out what's on their application, or if they have a hard copy, how do we access it without actually applying? So it's gonna take a while, but we'll work on it.
Okay.
I wonder if any of those online job services could, give you any insights.
Yeah, somebody who deals with a whole lot of employers.
Indeed.com or something.
That's a
one of
good
those
idea.
organizations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a really good idea. Yeah, thank you.
Anything else about that?
No.
Then let us move to MDCR's request for input on sex discrimination.
Emily.
Come here. You wanna give us an-
New baby, so not sleeping.
I-
So I'm just passing out
Poor baby.
draft, and I have just one strike through. Hopefully, most of you received the email. The Michigan Civil Rights Commission has been requested to basically issue an interpretive statement, which they're allowed to do by law, basically indicating that sex discrimination in the Elliott Larson Civil Rights Act basically already includes discrimination based on sexual orientation or gender identity. Obviously, this request was actually brought to the Michigan Civil Rights Commission by, I think, over 38 LGBT community centers in Michigan. And it looks like they're taking it seriously. They are accepting comments through August 15th. And someone reached out to us, I believe, and requested that we put some things
Andre.
together.
Andre, yes.
Reached out to us. And I think that it's definitely something that we should support. I linked on the email the very lengthy, well-written request by the LGBT
Yes.
community organizations, and our resolution sort of tracks that. I don't think it needs to be as detailed as this is a very rough draft, and
That's good.
because obviously the window is closing very quickly, and I know it's difficult for us to reach an agreement on everything. But I do think it's a worthwhile pursuit. It's an easy place for us to sort of voice that we support this and agree with it. Obviously, it coincides with what we have under our human rights ordinance. Obviously, this doesn't amend Elliott Larson, and we don't want it to be a substitute for that. On the other hand, it's something, it sounds like it's been 30 years since there's been any serious consideration by the state to amend Elliott Larson. And this is, again, in accord with decisions that have been made, specifically in the Seventh Circuit. I don't think we have any really good Sixth Circuit decisions, but definitely several decisions across the country support this interpretive statement. And so I don't know if anyone has any questions about it.
I just have a general question. Do we has the commission passed resolutions very often in the past?
Yes,
Yeah. Not very often, but we have.
yeah.
Okay.
And this is
Yeah.
the kind of thing we do.
Yeah.
And I think you pointed out that we should, if we feel moved to individually comment, submit
Yes,
public
right.
comments as well.
They're looking for,
Um,
and they're gonna probably count
Mhm.
the responses to the interest, so it always helps.
Yes, and so that's also linked from the website. I can send another email reminder because I think this is a good thing. I would note sometimes when legislation has been proposed, some have argued that sex discrimination already covers it, so why do we
Right.
need to amend Elliott Larson? Our resolution explicitly states that this is not a substitute, this is something, that
Yeah.
still we would want amended legislatively. But at the same time, it's a move in the right
Right.
direction.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, and it's of course unclear, when and if the legislature would ever get around to it.
Absolutely.
And so this is better than nothing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, it seems to me it's been proposed and it has been killed by the time limit every time.
Right.
But it's been posed more
Right.
than once.
Even the
Yes.
governor has, expressed, an interest in passing such legislation. Should it make it anywhere near his desk?
But when we were working on the non-discrimination ordinance, this was the only thing we had to allow Ann Arbor to protect people on those, for sexual orientation or sexual identity.
And we were careful, and thanks to Andre, in writing
Yes.
the definition.
Yes.
One's sex is determined by one's gender identity under our ordinance. So sex discrimination does incorporate discrimination on the basis of gender identity, even though our ordinance also has that as a protected
Right.
category.
We
But
itemized it, but.
but
unnecessary.
we also made it clear that sex includes
Right.
this.
Right, we
Gender
include
identity.
gender expression as well.
Expression, but not
Yeah.
orientation.
Even more detail.
Right. So what did you propose that we cross
So
out?
I the paragraph you suggested was sort of,
I don't have strong feelings, so it's whatever.
I agree, so I put a strike through in the fourth paragraph, because she suggested that, I don't know, what was your argument there?
Well, when I first read it, I thought, if I was an opponent of this, I'd think, well, this is just a backdoor way of doing what we clearly don't want to do. So shouldn't this be legislatively done, and you're trying to do it in a non-legislative? And why would you want to? To me, the argument should be, well, the federal law, and Andre referenced the Sixth Circuit decision too, but the federal law EEOC guidelines, they all say that sex discrimination should mean protection of gender identity and
Right.
and
Right,
so
this voices the opposition too much, that there is this.
Yeah.
So
segment
that's
of
why I thought, like, you
society
can't kind of have it both ways.
Who does not want to pass it, and
Yeah.
so why
Yeah.
give that voice in there at
But
all?
but it's still true. So
Right.
and everybody knows it's true.
It was
so.
in the letter from the 38
Yeah, no, I
community
saw
members,
that.
so
I know,
it's gonna be there anyway.
No,
but,
I know. So it's fine.
so-
I'm fine with what.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much more time we need to review this, but like I said, next Wednesday is the deadline. So
Yeah,
I don't know if
should
we
vote
need
on it.
time to submit more
I
changes
think-
to this, or if people have had enough time
Depends.
to.
Yeah,
review
no,
it.
No, I studied it closely and I approve of it.
Yeah.
So,
Is there any discussion, any questions, any comments? Are we ready for a vote?
So are we going to vote on as amended with the strike-throughs?
Or
As
do-
amended with the strike through, that I would propose.
Yeah,
As
right,
long
I-
as everyone, I'm happy to take, any more insight that anyone has, but otherwise, this is what I would propose.
The only other thing is I saw there's two that's in
Wait,
that.
okay, this
in
is
that-
what I mean, yeah.
It's just, no, otherwise it's great. It's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th paragraph, including the one that was struck. So whereas courts, including the Michigan Supreme Court, have repeatedly.
Oh, that.
Yeah,
I
two
see it.
that's.
Okay.
But otherwise, I think it's great. I have no other.
So a motion to vote on this?
So move.
All in favor?
I'll
Did we get a
second.
second?
Hmm?
Second.
Oh, second,
Okay.
yeah. So all in favor of supporting this amendment
Yes.
with the amendments, the changes?
Resolution with
This-
amendment?
Resolution, thank you.
Yeah.
We're all very sleepy today.
No
Like,
kidding.
it's
And you're the only one with a good reason, maybe.
Right.
Okay, as amended,
Yeah.
say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Can we,
I will send you a final version.
please send me a final
Okay,
version?
send it.
I wonder if I can say if we can say it was unanimously passed, given that we were missing 2 people.
I think you can.
Mhm.
Okay.
Passed by whoever was here, that's
It
unanimous,
was, it
isn't it?
certainly was.
I don't know, how does city council do it, right? It's unanimous if everybody's
Yeah.
there?
Would it
Oh,
ever
I
be
don't
unanimous?
know.
I don't know.
Great.
What's that?
I think unanimous means when
Is
all
it
the
unanimous
members are
if
presented.
you have a quorum but not every member present and it
Then-
passes unanimously?
Yeah, because you just note that what members are present. I mean,
Yeah.
and you noted that in the
In the
Yeah.
minutes.
in the
Yes.
minutes, so
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
unanimous
Okay,
with all members
Yeah.
present.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, great.
and then what, so this gets
Unanimous
sent,
means so
oh,
many
yeah.
members present.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
Corinne, thanks for doing that.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
So will somebody give this to
You
the
could be,
city
wow.
clerk in time? Who's gonna actually, you'll do this?
I'll get the final version to you moving forward.
And I will get it to them,
Okay, great.
yeah. The only other thing I have on here is to remind you that on September 6th, which is a Wednesday, there's an all-day meeting in Lansing on hate. It tends to be a very good program. They get good people. I haven't been there for 1 year, but I've went there many years, and I am gonna be driving if somebody else wants, trust me to
When is
drive,
it?
or somebody else can drive. It is Wednesday, September 6th in Lansing.
Are you
and it's
sure
free.
of that? Are you sure of the date and day? Because I thought the first thing I saw was a Tuesday, but I might be wrong on that.
I have it as Wednesday.
It's the MI.
I think it's Wednesday.
I sent you something, I can do it again.
No, I still have it.
Second deal.
Okay.
Oh, so you'll be a little busy.
It gives you, among other things, first of all, it's free, they give you lunch. It's put on by the Michigan Department of Civil Rights and the Michigan Alliance Against Hate Crimes, which we are, by the way, a member. And it gives you the opportunity to meet other people in other Michigan groups and municipalities who are working on this. Gives you an idea to find out what they're doing. I mean, it's really very, very interesting, and you hear very good presentations.
You're right, it is Wednesday.
Thank
I've just
goodness.
confirmed it is in fact Wednesday, September 6th. Sorry about that.
Excellent. Well, if you want to come and want to go with me, let me know. Anybody else have anything? Because we are ready to terminate early. Good. Adjourn. Anybody have a motion? If there's nothing else, is there anything else?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, folks.
Oh, great.
Great.